The next speaker, whom I'm going to call to come and speak to us, he goes by the name of Dr. Benson Kinyagia, and he is the Senior Science Secretary at the National Commission for Science, Technology, and Innovation, based in Nairobi, Kenya. Benson Kinyagia is a Senior Science Secretary at the National Commission for Science, Technology, and Innovation, based in Nairobi, Kenya. He holds a bachelor's degree majoring in biological sciences and a master's in botany, particularly plant pathology, a PhD in pesticide sciences, that's safety, and he has been working as a policy scientist. He's been working as a policy scientist in Kenya and for over 16 years, and has been involved in regional and international meetings, especially the CBD and its protocols. He served in the CBD HTEG on synthetic biology, currently spearheading the establishment of synthetic biology capacity in Kenya universities and research institutions to support the country's bioeconomy development through research, products development, and favorable policy environment. He is a member of the Environmental Institute of Kenya, and he is interested in emerging technologies adoption for socio-economic development in a safe, secure environment. Without a further ado, please let's welcome Dr. Benson Kinyaga to speak to us. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Sadra. So as you have been told, I work for the National Commission for Science, Technology, and Innovation in Nairobi, Kenya. And our mandate as a commission is that we promote science, technology, and innovation. We also advise government on all matters of science, technology, and innovation. And we also regulate research in the country through registration of research institutes and also registering the researchers themselves and giving them licenses. For the topic that we have been given, we can have the slides now there. We would like to talk on our engagements on UNCBD, the United Nations Convention for Biological Diversity is the body that is currently involved in trying to come up with a policy framework that may give us the way forward in terms of an international regulatory system to govern SynBio and all other related issues. The UN CBD was established to support mainly conservation, sustainable utilization of biodiversity, and access benefit. It has those three objectives, and it was opened for signatures during the famous Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. And in December the following year, the convention was opened for signature. And up to now, we have about 193 countries. CBD has two main protocols. That is the Cartagena Protocol and Nagoya Protocol. And there is also the Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol to the Cartagena Protocol. So these protocols, Cartagena deals mainly with biosafety, to the Convention on Biological Diversity, and it governs the movement of living modified organisms, that is RMOs, from one country to the other, and was adopted in January of 2000, and it establishes the procedure for ensuring that countries are provided with the prior informed information to make decision for the import of these RMOs. Cartagena also seeks to protect biological diversity from potential risk that may be posed by RMOs, and also reaffirms the precautionary language in Principle 15 of the Rio Declaration on the Earth, on Environment and Development. And it establishes also a BCH system that facilitates exchange of information. The other one is the Nagoya. This one is a protocol which the African countries really fought for, because it tried to bring negotiation for the access of genetic resources, where those who access, they also commit that they will be able to share the benefits with the provider countries once the materials are used for commercial purposes. And it was adopted in 2010 in Nagoya, Japan, and came into force in 2014 during the COP of 2014, which was in Pyongyang, South Korea. So this one provides a transparent mechanism for the implementation of the third objective of the CBD, and it creates certainty for the providers and the users of the genetic resources, and also creates some incentives so that people can be able to sustainably use the GR, or genetic resources, at the same times allows the local communities to take care of them because they are assured of some shared benefit. The Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol, this one looks into, it provides for the rules and procedures for liability and redress in case a company introduces an RMO in an environment and it destroys the livelihood of some local communities. It tries to ensure that there is some measures that would ensure that any damage resulting from these RMOs can be taken care of. So it provides for the response measure by the operator for those civil liabilities. So when now we come to synthetic biology, we realize this is a rapidly emerging interdisciplinary field of science and engineering, and it aims to redesign these living systems through programming genetic information. And as a result, it has created what we are calling a global debate among the policymakers and even among the public. And since 2010, there has been these discussions whether synthetic biology should be classified as a new and emerging issue, and its impact on the CBD and its three objectives. And in the official documentation, it was introduced in the UN Convention on Biological Diversity as an agenda during the Conference of Parties in Hyderabad, India, in October of 2012. And in the subsequent COP of COP12, which was held in 2014 in Pyongyang, South Korea, that is when the ad hoc technical expert group on synthetic biology was created or established, and I happen to represent Kenya and also the East African region in this ATEC from 2015 all the way to 2019. And we find that there are procedures that are normally followed in these meetings before any decision is made, and these decisions are normally done during the Conference of Parties, and it is held every 2 years. And in preparation to this COP meeting, the Secretariat, through the subsidiary, there is a scientific, technical, and technology advice body, and also another one called SBI. They are the ones that draft this agenda. And in fact, this is where many countries are left out because many countries do not participate in these meetings, which come a year before the COP. When you look at the decision on synthetic biology, what we can say is that they have been polarized. And the reason is because there has been question whether there is adequate regulatory mechanism, or do we need a new mechanism that will be able to be used for risk assessment or risk mitigation for this synthetic biology. And we find that though it is an issue in CBD, it also overlaps with the protocols themselves, which are different meetings, even if sometimes they are held at the same venue, but they are parallel meetings. The protocols, the Cartagena and Nagoya normally hold parallel meetings with the main CBD meeting. When you look at the decisions that have been made, the first decision was that this development of this technology associated with this synthetic live cell genome and has some scientific uncertainty, and therefore there may be potential impact on its conservation and sustainable use. That was the first decision that created the way now for the COP12, which now urged the parties to take precautionary approach in line with the Article 14 when dealing with the synthetic biology. And since we didn't have an international legal framework, they urged the member states to use their domestic registration. And for those who don't have, to either review the legislation they have so that they can encompass issues that are being there with, that are being raised by synthetic biology development. The other one is that they encourage the funding of research and the right, and also cooperation. The other decision came in Cancun, Mexico in 2016, where they also encouraged this domestic registration, promotion of dialogue, and also awareness. Then they also said that we need also to establish synergy with other United Nations conventions, like the BTWC, the UN 1540, the one we had been told about. And also we promote effective engagement of the indigenous and local community in activities that are related to synthetic biology, because they may be affected the most. It also welcomed the decisions that had been made by the Cartagena Protocol, BS 712. Then in some, I'll check, I think this is the last COP that was there before the pandemic, the development of this synthetic biology was seen that it may create some challenges, and called upon parties and other government to take into account the uncertainties that are there, and also recognize the need of information sharing, and welcomed what the ATEC had done. One of the major issues that is really bringing a lot of debate on this synthetic biology, and it actually necessitated another ATEC to be created, is the issue of digital sequence information. This is the genetic resource data that has been sequenced and also kept in databases. I'm being told I have 2 minutes. So this is one of the issues that's really bringing the issue, because it is being seen as if it can affect the Nagoya Protocol, where if material had been accessed earlier, digital information is kept somewhere in Europe or US or any other country, and then a developer just accesses the digital information, use reverse engineering to create the biological system, and now get the product without now any reference to the provider country. So this is one issue that is ongoing. Even now, there is a debate on the open-ended discussion on post-2020 global biodiversity. We are in that group, and we are looking at it. The other one is World Economic Forum. There is a council on synthetic biology. I'm also a member, and we have come into contact with Ryan and his boss, Jason, in that committee. So their concern is actually that it is really becoming a rapid and potential technology for economy all over the world, and therefore it is an economic driver. There is, however, a concern on the geographical distribution, Because when you look at this technology, where has it been developed? You may find it's in US, Europe, and now China is also coming up very quickly on the technology. But when you look at the map in Africa, we are nowhere. We are still dark as far as this technology is concerned. Then the other concern is the dual research. It has already been said, and even during these years, biological and toxin weapon conversion, it came up as one of the technologies that can drive some of these dual use, where criminals can use it for bioterrorism. For Kenya, let me just use 1 minute to say what Kenya has done. We held after this discussion came in the UN, we called Professor Fremont in 2016, and we called our researchers and our academia, just to create awareness about this technology, and also to advise our students whether you can get involved in the IGM and also in research. And we wanted to establish collaboration between ICR, NACOSTI, and Kenyan institution. Then later in 2016, we even called our brothers from Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia. We had an East African workshop between 15th and 17th March. And I am happy because some of the people who are involved now in IGEM in Kenya attended this meeting, and they were able to see that there is potential in that. We were looking at how it can be used in health, crop, industry, and environment. Now, that was the meeting. These were the discussions that were held then. And out of that, then we took a 15-member delegation of researchers, government, head of department to ICR in UK to see the technology in place and also to meet the developers there so that we can get positive backing from our institution. And out of that, we can say that we have several programs that have been funded even by the government of Kenya. The National Research Fund has funded a multi-sectoral project. One, University of Nairobi is developing biosensors for plant diseases. Kenyatta University is developing biosensors for human disease, and they have succeeded one for cholera. And NACOSTI, we are reviewing the regulatory framework. And ISA is developing the communication model. We also have another university called DECUT, which is working with our regulator for products for market called Kenya Bureau of Standards. They are doing one for standards that can be used to test the standard before they go for the market. And we also have now an IGEM team that is being hosted by the Institute of Primate Research. I had taken along the director for the Primate Research Institute to UK, so he is also supporting them and encouraging them in that project. So all these projects are ongoing in our labs and in our institution. So the way forward, SynBio need more funding in Africa by Gov, donors, private sector, establishment of SynBio hubs or centers of excellence, just as the chair has said, needed in our countries. States need to engage stakeholders and review their regulatory frameworks. Utilization of our rich biodiversity and traditional knowledge to inspire SynBio is needed, and communication and awareness need to be created before the product development to avoid the GMO mess which we had, where the naysayers had a few days when our scientists were in the lab developing the products. By the time they came out with the products, the naysayers had it. So, thank you, asante sana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Benson, for that talk. We really, really appreciate. We are going to move on to the next speaker. And the next speaker is going to be reaching us online. And this particular speaker is none other than Mr. Tek Kajirita. Mr. Tek Kajirita is the Chair, East Africa Regional Biosafety and Biosecurity Technical Working Group. He is a distinguished biosafety and biosecurity management consultant. He is the chair of the East Africa Regional Biosafety Biosecurity Technical Working Group, which is an international. He is also an internationally certified professional by IFUBA in biosafety, biosecurity, and biocontainment. He has nurtured and successfully implemented biosafety, biosecurity program in Uganda, and for the last 10 years, embracing multi-sectorial approaches and One Health. This program boasts of a pool of national certified trainers, auditors, assorted documentation, and annual national laboratory improvement projects. Mr. Tek Kajirita is a distinguished expert on management in public health emergencies, with 15 years of preparing and controlling public health emergencies, including the viral hemorrhagic fevers and now COVID-19 in Uganda. He has served in different portfolios, and now he's the Assistant Commissioner for Public Health Laboratory Services at the Ministry of Health here in Uganda. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, Atek was assigned the role of the National Incident Manager for COVID-19 and was tasked with the coordination of all response actions towards effective control of the pandemic. His academic background combines laboratory, public health, and administration. Mr. Tek will be speaking to us being prepared for the next pandemic, biosafety and biosecurity as essential pillars of public health and national security. Please join me to welcome Mr. Atek Kajirita to give us the next talk.
Okay, there we are. Thank you so much. Chair, allow me to take you through these slides. There are very few slides, but I'll be explaining especially in respect to what we need to prepare for the next pandemic and for the national security, especially in African settings. So let's continue with the slides. Allow me to just go through the definitions quickly. I am very hopeful that most of the members here are huge experts. We are ever looking at the biosafety in terms of these unintentional exposures, but also largely looking at biosecurity in terms of the possible misuse and diversion. And in African setting, I think we are at the moment for us looking at the biosafety, because the second one is not yet a very huge concern, though we don't know the extent at which it could be misused. If you look at the agents that were taken during the Ebola outbreak in West Africa, you cannot even know where all the Ebola agents are right now. But I will be speaking through all those three, and definitely we have lots of epidemics and endemics, and now the pandemics. I wish this is next. Chair, these are the trends over the years, the trends of historical pandemics. I will not go through all of them, but those dots reflect the magnitude in terms of numbers. You will see that the Spanish flu especially was the biggest, with 50 million people. But over the time, we have had catastrophic events up to today, where we are battling the COVID-19 problem that has so far claimed to a tune of 750,000 people. We don't know where it will end. We are still counting deaths on a daily basis. So we are talking about something that is more serious. Next. Chair, this is ICA, especially as of today. This is about the weekly bulletin given by WHO, the African Region. Find here, but it is showing quite enough within Africa. There are lots of other issues other than COVID. COVID is everywhere, but there are other countries also experiencing yellow fever. Others have Ebola. Others have quite multiple number of agents, pathogens. And this is not nice for us, especially when we are discussing the question of biosecurity, biosafety. Next. Chair, this is also the most current slide on COVID-19 in Africa. As of today, you realize that we have registered close to 8 million people, 8.4 million, and with a good number of 314,000 deaths. So the dots show in terms of size where the problem is bigger. But you realize that even in East Africa here, near in Kenya, the problem is equally big as well
Hello.
as the upper Africa there. So next. Chair, this is about the impact on socio-economic, energy, environment, and transport sector. COVID has really disorganized us, and there's no, you can't even, you don't need to explain this. It has been disaster to most, the economies have been fragile, then it really cripples everything. So it has been extremely bad. You look at the lifestyle, may be slightly smiling because a number of things were really curtailed. Vehicles were stopped, most of things were stopped. But
Hello, Mr. Tek, we can't hear you.
Next, we are looking at the country. You don't hear me?
We can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So we are looking at the country's preparedness efforts. Chair, you will appreciate that however much prepared you are, you will never be prepared 100%. You will appreciate that those countries thought were very heavily prepared, were most prepared in yellow. Uganda itself is more prepared. You can see within the East Africa, but we still have very many countries that are recorded as less prepared by the Global Health Security Index of 2019. You see that even the most advanced countries have been heavily hit by COVID, despite the level of preparations. So the preparations will never end. They are always needed. They are always focused by the risk assessment. So this is an area that Africa now needs to really focus as we move in biosecurity. Next, Chair. So here I'm going to describe the issues in respect to East Africa, how to handle the next pandemic, and I've made it
recording in progress.
More easier. Our area now is focused on the capacity building, empowering as many as possible, most of the people, the laboratories, the research units, the facilities, to really be able to know what it entails by biosecurity and biosafety. Okay. And then we are also focusing on the government support and commitment. That's an area where we think if we involve everybody and continue with huge government empowerment and support, most probably would have an edge. Then linking the public case and security law enforcement aspect, the border control and customs. For example, here, our problem was, if you looked at the JEE of 2017, our border health protection services were at 0. And it was evident that when COVID came, that was the most heavily hit area. All the cases came from the borders, and it has taught us a lesson. So it is Africa, East Africa has to really refocus heavily on some of these areas, notwithstanding the national pathogen event and biocontainment measures. Next. Chair, the challenges for really biosafety and biosecurity as we move forward, it lies on the legislative framework and ability to have enabling environment, limited funding issues. We have serious infrastructure issues, and like I said, political awareness and support. Because those are the guys with the money. Unless you unlock them, then you cannot really move forward and get the resources. Next, Chair, as we finish. This is a slide on the future demands or needs for the next pandemics, because we shall be hit by other pandemics. We need to increase or refocus on areas of automation and use of robots so that people are not involved, people are not hit. Slides are not displayed, I don't know. Then you need to promote the registration and containment capabilities. I think Africa CDC is moving heavily in this line. We are thinking of using also synthetic biology. We are happy this conference is happening, and lots of you people are really thinking towards this line so that we can use cleaner methodologies that will limit the potentiality for transmissions, and improving pathogen control and accountability capacities, not forgetting the intensified application of risk-based approaches. So we think if we really focus on this, then we should be able to manage the next pandemics properly. And lastly, is the question of what should be done. The strategies are those involving governments, involving Africa CDC, regional centers, member states. We are making frameworks, we're strengthening surveillance systems. We think if we can have some grants specifically focusing on biosecurity and working closely with other partners, most certainly we should be going a very huge mile ahead. And lastly, Chair, that's the last slide. The last slide is to thank you so much for this time, for this opportunity, and for bringing this wonderful conference to Uganda, and for the betterment of the Africans. I thank you.